She said it was harmless. Until I counted the keys. Chapter 1. The Scent I Didn't Own. He came home smelling like someone else's shower. Not perfume, not cologne. Eucalyptus. The clean lab kind hotels buy when they want the lobby to sound expensive. Work ran late, Daniel said, loosening his tie like a man removing an alibi. Ray's launch went sideways. We had to fix it. Ray, the new project manager with a voice like a smile. I'd seen her twice. She wore a blue scarf both times. It looked like it was always moving. I kissed his cheek and tasted mint and metal. He set his keys in the ceramic dish near the door. They made a different sound, 2 clinks instead of 1. New key, I asked. He glanced at the dish. Office storage, he said. They changed the lock. No one in his office keeps storage keys on personal rings. I know because I used to work there before leaving to build a private practice that still felt like a waiting room. The kettle on the stove began to whisper. I turned the knob off and listened to it quiet itself. Kettle cools. Hungry? I asked. Starving, he said, and hugged me from behind like a man remembering his lines. His arms were warm, my stomach wasn't. That night I dreamed of eucalyptus leaves, flat, coin-shaped, too many to count. In the dream, they were keys, and every time I picked one up, another fell. In the morning, his coat pocket held a receipt folded into the shape of a promise someone forgot to keep. Chapter 2. The Blue Scarf. The receipt was from the Orpheum Hotel. 1 Americano, 1 tea, 2 pastries named like knives, meal filet, opera. Room number blank. I put it back, then I took it out again because I wanted to hate myself precisely. The paper smelled faintly of coffee and Ray's shampoo, which I didn't know I knew until that moment. On my way to work, I checked Daniel's car for the first time in our marriage. That sentence enters like a burglar even when it's true. Under the passenger seat, a strand of blue thread clinging to the floor mat like it belonged more than I did. I tugged. A scarf edge revealed itself like a secret that trusted me. Silk, sky blue. If I owned it, I would have taken it off carefully. Whoever left it yanked it free with a laugh. I sat in his car, holding a piece of fabric like it had a mouth, and waited for the part where I told myself, it's nothing. The part didn't come. Instead, I counted. Messages between them from the last month. 112. Midnight timestamps, 9. Laugh emojis from Daniel, which he barely uses, 14. Harmless, she had written about their debrief dinners. You're married, I respect that. It is possible to respect the institution and still crawl through a window. That night he said, we should go away, just us. Where? I asked. Someplace quiet, he said. You pick. I said a town by the coast. I didn't say the name that lived behind my teeth. Orpheum. The kettle whistled like it knew something I didn't. I don't know when jealousy learned to code, but it did. I found my old phone in a drawer, charged it, and taught it a trick. Record when the car turns on, upload when it finds our Wi-Fi again. Automation is just guilt wearing a lab coat. I tucked the phone in the lining of the car's glove compartment. A small operation performed without anesthesia. The first night, nothing. The second, 2 people in a moving box, their words bumping against plastic. Ray, you should tell her. Daniel, tell her what? That I like you? That I don't know when that liking turned into... He stopped, like the sentence had a cliff built into it. Into, Ray asked. Into, he said, an idea I can't unthink. Silence. The sound of the blinker. A laugh neither of them wanted to own. Ray again. It's harmless if we keep it harmless. Daniel, We're past Harmless. I paused the file and stared at my hands. They were steady. My heart was not. It ran to the kitchen and turned the kettle on by itself. I replayed the last word, past, as in already, as in already what? That night, I hid the scarf inside the laundry basket, not to throw it away, not to keep it, but to give it a place where it didn't know who it belonged to. I slept badly and dreamed of a lobby that smelled like winter. Chapter 4. The Friend. I need you to tell me I'm crazy, I told Mira over coffee. We'd been friends since college, the kind that survive mismatched weddings and synchronized disasters. Mira listened the way good friends do, with her face and her hands. I showed her the receipt photo, the scarf. I didn't play the recording. I couldn't bear the way truth becomes evidence when it hears itself. It could be nothing, she said slowly. Or it could be not nothing. Either way, you need context. Context, I said. The word lawyers wear to dinner. Ask him, Mira said. Not when you're on fire. When you've cooled, when the kettle is just a tube of metal sitting on a stove. He'll lie, I said. Then you'll hear it, she said, and choose. Mira touched her own scarf, a small burgundy one, knotted at her throat. She always said scarves were armor you could fold. As we stood to leave, she reached for me and the sleeve of her coat shifted, a glimpse of a hotel keycard, the Orpheum's dark O on white. Nice hotel, I said, before my brain caught my mouth. She tugged the sleeve back down too quickly. Work thing. A panel, they comped a room for the speakers. Harmless. She flinched a millimeter, like a violin hearing its note. On my way home, I tried to unknow that moment. The brain can fix many things, but it hates returning clothes once the tags are off.
Chapter 5. The Orpheum's lobby smelled like eucalyptus and glass. People spoke softly because the ceiling made them sound expensive. I wasn't there to catch them. I told myself that. I was there because I wanted to know the location of my grief. It felt polite. Ray's laugh arrived before she did. You can recognize a voice once you've recorded it. She walked across the lobby in a navy coat and the blue scarf, the one I thought lived in our laundry. A twin, then, or the same scarf briefly mined by accident? Daniel followed. He looked like the best version of himself, awake, edges softened by wanting. They sat. She touched his sleeve. He touched her fingertips, that careful, accidental touch that affairs develop to feel like morals. I did what jealous people do. Took a photo and immediately hated it. Truth is greedy. It wants to be the whole truth and never is. They talked for 40 minutes. No kiss, no room key. Twice he reached for her hand, then stopped. Once she leaned toward him and corrected his tie, as if that strip of fabric was the only thing keeping him intact. I left before they did. Outside, the air was knife cold. I walked 3 blocks, then 4. When I finally turned back, I saw Mira coming out of the Orpheum alone. She looked like someone leaving a room where applause had happened. She spotted me. She almost waved, then she didn't. My phone buzzed. Daniel. Home in 20. You need anything? Yes. A new world. A map. A version of me who hadn't learned how easy it is to leave a scarf behind. Chapter 6. Inventory. I set the table like a truce. Candles, pasta he liked, my mother's plates. The kettle boiled so hard it sounded like clapping. Kettle whistles. Clicks off. When Daniel walked in, I smelled eucalyptus before I saw him. He hugged me with the care that belongs in museums. I said, "We should talk." He closed his eyes the way men do when they decide to be honest and then remember they're not alone. Okay. I asked, "Do you love her?" He, I. He opened his eyes. No, I don't. I don't think so. I want her. And I hate that word because it's lazy, but it's true. Did you sleep with her? No, he said quickly. Too quickly. Not like that. Like what? My voice had a new edge. I didn't know whether to keep it. We kissed. Twice. Nothing else. Nothing else is such a crowded term. I asked, why? Because you and I have been roommates with good lighting. Because I don't know how to tell you I'm lonely without making you think you're failing. You're lonely, I repeated. So you kept it harmless. He looked at the table. I'm sorry, he said. I am. What about the hotel? We met there to talk off the clock. It felt neutral. I swear to you. No room. I told him about the recording, the scarf, the receipt. My voice kept breaking itself into smaller pieces so it could fit through the air. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he went very still. I will end it, he said. If you want me to, I will. I thought of the word end and how sometimes it means start. I said, give me your keys. He looked at me confused. Why? I want to count them. He put them on the table. They clinked. One house, one car, one office, one storage, supposedly. I held the new one up to the light. On the edge, someone had scratched a tiny letter M. M for storage? I asked. He swallowed. Mira, he said. The kettle in my head screamed.
Chapter 7. The Other Triangle. I met Mira the next morning in the park near the church that always smelled like bread. She wore sunglasses, even though the sun was busy elsewhere. I should have told you, she said before I sat. Nothing happened. Not with me and Daniel. Not like you think. How should I think? I asked. He asked me for advice, she said. 3 months ago. He said he was in trouble. He was trying not to be. And the hotel key? I was speaking on a panel, she said. You know that part. I met Daniel in the lobby afterward. I told him to tell you everything or to end it now. He said he would. He didn't. Why didn't you tell me you were meeting him? Because I didn't want you to hear it like gossip, and because there was that 1 minute on the sidewalk where he looked at me like I was a choice he could make, and I hated how it felt not to hate it. We sat with that sentence between us until it cooled. There's something else, Mira said. Ray's ex, he's been circling. Ugly texts, showing up places. Daniel thought if he kept it contained, she'd be safer. So he was protecting her, I said, with kisses? Mira winced. I'm not defending him. I'm telling you what I saw. Did you see him fall in love? No. I saw him look for oxygen, and I saw you hold your breath to match. There are moments friendship is a room with a trap door. You fall, then discover the floor below is still floor. I'm sorry, Mira said. I should have been better. So should I, but here we are. We hugged like people who know where the other person's bones bend. When we pulled apart, she pressed the Orpheum keycard into my hand. Your turn, she said. If you want it. I don't know what I want, I said. You want the truth, and then you want it to stop hurting. Chapter 8. My turn to lie. I went to the Orpheum with the key card and a story. I was there for a conference and needed quiet to work. The receptionist smiled like a professional secret. I didn't invite anyone. I didn't text Daniel. I didn't take off my wedding ring.
I put the blue scarf on the chair back like a flag I hadn't earned. I sat on the bed and listened to the city move through glass. Then I did the thing I had told myself I would never do. I called Luca. Luca sells bicycles and kindness in a shop around the corner. He once fixed my chain for free and told me the weather was a mood worth preparing for. He has eyes people write poems about and then delete. "Hey," I said. "Are you busy?" "For you? No." It is possible to build a cliff and then not jump. It is also possible to step. Luca arrived with 2 coffees and a look that said he had allowed himself one thought too many. We talked for an hour about nothing and everything. Breaks, the price of cherries, how birds pretend not to care where they land. He didn't touch me. I didn't touch him. When he left, he stood in the doorway and looked like a person deciding to be good on purpose. If you ever need to ride somewhere fast, I have a bike for that. After he was gone, I cried in the bathroom with the shower on so the room would think the water was doing it. I almost cheated. Daniel almost cheated harder. We were a pair of almosts that added up to something you still have to confess.
Chapter 9. Separation, sort of. We agreed to live like neighbors. Same house, different rooms, shared calendar like a ceasefire. We called it a pause because the word separation made our parents text too many emojis. He started therapy. I did too. I told my therapist about lists, the way counting made me feel smarter than pain. She told me counting is just a way to survive time. Ray left the company. I heard it from Mira, not Daniel. She moved 2 towns over, closer to her sister. Her ex showed up at her new job once and then learned about security the expensive way. Daniel and I spoke in small, honest spoonfuls. He told me he was ashamed of how exciting lying felt, until it didn't. I told him I had almost let a good man in a bicycle shop kiss me, and that the word almost was a poor bouncer. We cooked dinner on opposite nights and ate together like roommates with a soft history. Sometimes he reached for my hand, and we both let the air say no. One evening, the kettle began to scream, and neither of us moved to save it. We stood in the doorway and listened to a small thing be dramatic. "I miss us," he said. I said, "Which us?" He said, "The us that watched bad TV and repeated the funny lines. The us that made grocery lists with jokes on them. I missed being the person you ran to instead of around." We turned the kettle off and drank water like we were practicing for a day when we'd be good at being human again. That night, I counted the keys in the dish. 2. The house, the car. Mira had the Orpheum card. Ray had moved. I put my ring in the dish beside the keys. It made a sound I've never heard metal make before. Chapter 10. The keys I keep. Months can be a room if you arrange them right. We made a new map. Therapy on Tuesdays, dinner with friends who didn't ask for updates, walks where we counted dogs instead of mistakes. Ray sent me a letter, not an apology, a diagram. She wrote, "I'm sorry for standing where your marriage was already thin. I'm not sorry for leaving when I realized we were using each other to avoid harder choices. I'm trying to be better art." It was the kind of letter you keep because it refuses to be evidence. I met Luca for coffee once on a day that it rained in stripes. He told me about a road that ran along the river where the geese acted like landlords. We laughed. We did not touch. The relief was a clean sheet of paper. One Sunday,
Daniel and I sat at the table with our old ceramic key dish between us. He set his keys in it, the two he still had. I set mine next to his. Then I placed the hotel receipt on top of everything, like a thin weight grave. "I didn't," I said. He said, "I know." He took a deep breath. He said, "I'm moving out. Not because it's over, because I want to see who I am when I'm not failing you by trying to be perfect." I said, "You were never perfect. You were just mine." He said, "I want to earn the right to be yours again, if that's a thing that can be earned." We split the keys. He took one house key on a temporary ring. I kept the other. We hugged, and it felt like the kind of thing people do when they don't know whether to hope big or small. After he left, I went to the stove and boiled water I didn't need. I listened to the kettle rise and fall and thought about all the times we used it to measure silence. I opened the drawer where I had hidden the blue scarf. I took it out and stood by the trash, then didn't. I folded it. I put it in a box with the hotel receipt and a photo I had taken in a lobby I wish I'd never visited. I labeled the box, "Counting." I will keep counting, but not to prove anything. I will count dogs on walks and the number of times I choose not to text when loneliness asks me to do so. I will count days without lying. I will forgive the ones that misbehave. The spare keys on my ring unlock 3 things: the house I am slowly relearning, the bike Luca tuned for me because kindness is a craft, and the drawer where I keep a new kettle I haven't used yet. Sometimes at night, I stand at the window and try to smell eucalyptus, but the wind brings me basil from the neighbor's garden and rain from a storm we're not in yet. If you ask me whether Daniel and I made it, I will tell you the truth that doesn't sound satisfying. We are making it. We are either a marriage with better tools or 2 people who learn to leave gently. On some Tuesdays, I can't tell the difference. On some Sundays, the difference feels holy. I don't know what the keys on his ring open now. I know what mine do. I know how many I have. I know which pocket they live in. I know how to count without hurting myself. And if a blue scarf ever shows up in my car again, I will pull over, breathe, and ask the person it belongs to come get it. I will not make my heart a lost and found for stories that want to be knives. I am keeping one key no one can copy, the one that opens the door to the part of me that doesn't compete with ghosts. If you want to come in, knock. Say your name the way you mean it. I'll count to 3, and then I'll let you.